Warning, I'ma spoil some parts of these shows. If you don't like it, have a nice day, I guess. I'll be honest, I hate most shonen protagonists. We can do it, guys, or oh no, we have to save everyone. Nah, bro, miss me with that. I like it when the MC is like,
Lelouch V. Britannia commands you to kill yourself.
evil protagonists are easily the best kind of MC in any story. When I was a kid, I didn't even realize that main characters could be evil or do evil things. You know, all the shows I watched back then had these goody two-shoes main characters like Ash from Pokemon. But even back then, I knew I just liked the edgy guys more. You know, I liked Gary more. How can you not like him? He's constantly dripped out and drowning in hose. And he whoops Ash every time they fight. But I think my love for the bad guys or the rivals only got stronger when I watched the Mewtwo movie. Bro is easily the best villain in all of Pokemon. And let's be honest, Mewtwo has a better character arc than most anime characters out there. And he's just a fucking Pokemon. He's not even a person. Like, what is he? And then I grew up. I started growing a few chest hairs, my balls dropped, and I watched my first ever anime, Death Note. Light is literally the poster boy on how to write a villain or evil character. Being able to understand why they're doing the things that they do is important for a character like him. And I mean, Light's got a pretty simple reason for why he's doing it. He wants to punish criminals. That's something that anyone can agree on. But obviously he takes it way further into a god complex, which is what makes him truly evil, since he really does believe that he deserves to rule over others. Let's be honest, Light was definitely a Reddit admin before he got on the Death Note. But it's the same reason why everyone agrees that Killmonger and Thanos are the GOAT villains in Marvel, because they aren't just evil Doctor Strange. They actually got reasons to do the shit that they're doing. And because the show starts with him before he gets the power to kill anyone with his Death Note, we get to see this transformation of a normal high school Timmy with good grades into a maniacal serial killer with a god complex. But the real genius of the show is that even though I know full well I'm watching a psychopath serial killer rack up a KDA that Jack the Ripper could only dream of, I'm over here like, understandable. Have a nice day, gentlemen. Because, you know, I understand why he's doing what he's doing. And that's why to this day, I will always say that Death Note is my favorite anime. And come on, let's keep it real. When he's giving that monologue at the end of the series about how all the wars ended, middle school me was like, damn right he did. But at the same time, bro was also probably killing anyone caught shoplifting a Snickers bar. And that raises an important question for an evil MC that has good goals. Do the ends justify the means? I mean, Lelouch and Code Geass in general is pretty much the entire embodiment of that question. They're asking it the entire show. On one hand, we have Lelouch v. Britannia, the 11th prince in line to take the throne, and he wants to take it for himself to make a more peaceful world. But on the other hand, we have his childhood friend and rival Suzaku with a completely different approach. You know, he's a morally upstanding guy who is trying to change the system from within, and he's kind of the opposite of Lelouch. You know, he's trying to do things the right way, but Lelouch doesn't see it that way. He thinks if a million people have to die for peace, that they're gonna die from his peace, if you know what I'm saying. And how can you argue with that when Lelouch actually got shit done? I mean, he wanted to make a world without war or conflict for his younger sister, and I mean, he really did it. Hell, I probably would have voted for him as president in 2020.
Kill yourself.
Also, how are you gonna hate on a man whose sister is blind and disabled? I mean, that's just bullying. But remember, Lelouch is still an evil protagonist. We can't forget that he did use his Geass to turn people into literal slaves and then made them kamikaze themselves like this is a World War II or something. And I can still remember watching episode 22 of Code Geass where he accidentally tells Yuffie to kill all the Japanese. And I just had that moment you have where you're sitting there after watching an episode thinking like, what the fuck just happened? And then you start thinking like, was that all actually his fault? And by the way, the answer is 100% yes. But it's episodes like that when Lelouch tells Yuffie to kill all the Japanese, or when Light goes on an insane killing spree that makes me love evil protagonists even more. You know, I'm starting to realize the reason I have a lot of toxic exes. Another example is that episode of Breaking Bad when Walter White watches Jane OD. Bro, that is a moment I will never forget. Like, genuinely, it is burned into the back of my skull. And if we're talking about evil protagonist power rankings, bro, Walter White has got to be like, I don't know, at least third place in there. I'll talk about the top two later, but this show literally forces you to watch Walter commit horrible crime after horrible crime while still making you sympathize with him. At least for the first few seasons. It does get hard to do that later. But I don't think people understand Walter's backstory enough. Dude literally gets bullied in high school even though he's the teacher. He works a shitty job at a car wash with his dickhead boss, and on top of that, he gets a lung cancer even though he doesn't smoke. smoke. And it gets even worse. He left the company that he helped make, Gray Matter, because it wasn't making any money. And as soon as he sells his stock, they immediately make a shit ton of money. That is a truly evil backstory. I would have fucking snapped if I were him. We can all relate to being in a shitty situation like Walter, but the difference between us and Walter is the rabbit hole that he goes down. One of my favorite moments in Breaking Bad is when we see him decline his friend's offer to pay for his cancer treatments. When I first watched this scene, I couldn't understand why he was doing this. I was like, Walter, you dumb bitch, just take the money. He's still so salty about what happens that you think it's clouding his judgment, but now I understand, Walter has just been spit on for too long in his life, and that's why even after he gets all the money he could ever ask for and works a secure job with Gus, he keeps pushing it when he doesn't need to, because it's not about the money for him. It's about his pride. It's the fact that he likes doing it. But enough about Walter White. He's amazing, but let's talk about my second favorite evil protagonist, Guts from Berserk. Now, I know a lot of y'all are gonna be like, Ari Kendo, Guts isn't evil. He was just born into bad circumstances. And yes, that is technically true, but that doesn't change the fact that some of the things he does are objectively evil. Now, I'm not saying he's 100% evil, but he's at least, I don't know, there's 20 to 30% evil, and that number only really starts to go down in Fantasia. Guts is a troubled person. I mean, bro was literally born from a hanging corpse, molested as a kid, and then betrayed by his only father figure, and that's just his childhood. But then Griffith gives him a helping hand and saves him from falling down an even darker path. I mean, before Griffith, he did not care about dying or putting himself in danger. He didn't fight for anything except for money. But then the Band of the Hawk actually gives him a brotherhood he can rely on. He finally finds someone he can love, a shorty that's so fine. It finally gives him something to fight for, even if Griffith's dream isn't actually his. But that's what makes Berserk so fucked, man. It gives Guts all these happy things, and it makes us happy to see him grow, but then it just punches us in the gut over and over again after the eclipse. Now, this moment, oh my god, is easily in my top 10, top 3 moments in all of fiction. And to say that this changes Guts is like the understatement of the century. I would say before the eclipse, he's kind of a dickhead, right? But nothing more than that. After the eclipse though, Guts is way more of an asshole. Like, he tells his little girl to just kill herself, or he almost sexually assaults Casca. And if you still don't believe me that Guts is at least a little evil, I mean, just look at the Beast of Darkness. This thing is a literal manifestation of his hatred and terrifying impulses, okay? He's at least a little evil. But again, Guts isn't actually evil like Light or Walter. He doesn't have this ego that he's feeding. In reality, he doesn't actually want to hurt Casca. He wants to help her, and it's revealed that he takes it personally when this girl starts crying and blames him for her father's death. Guts just has a few evil parts inside of himself that are born from his trauma, understandably. But this is the genius of Miura's writing. Our protagonist isn't the knight in shining armor with the beautiful white hair and blue eyes. Nah, that's the most evil motherfucker around. The one we sympathize with, the one we're following, our main character is the one filled with hatred and constantly angry at the world for taking everything he loves. But with the recent Fantasia arc, it is clear that Guts is going through another healing moment where he learns to trust and love his friends even more. I hope he isn't taken away from him again, man. I don't know if I can take it anymore. But if you couldn't tell, I love Berserk an insane amount. I could probably keep glazing it for hours. But let's move on to the best evil protagonist of all time. But before that, we got a few honorable mentions here, okay? Of course, I gotta mention Tony Montana from Scarface, Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. These two are the OG evil main characters, but for completely different reasons. Tony's a lot more like Walter White. He continues down the drug empire and money rabbit hole until he gets so paranoid that he ends up killing people around him, and it kills him at the end. Patrick Bateman, on the other hand, is so clearly evil and psychopathic, but ironically, he's never punished for his crimes, even when he's desperately trying to tell people that something is wrong with him and he's trying to reveal the horrible things that he's done. They just kind of shrug it off and don't care. The movie never really tells you what's reality and what's fiction, so this takes the whole idea of following the protagonist's point of view to a whole new level. We kind of follow him in all of his delusions and fantasies. Also, please stop saying he's literally me. I'm so Sigma like Patrick Bateman, guys. This character is a woman-hating, narcissistic serial killer, all right? You don't want to be like him, all right? These TikTok kids got me fucked up, man. Eren Yeager is another evil character that needs honorable mention. You know, his transformation from a shonen protagonist who just yells like all the other ones into an edgy mass murderer is definitely an interesting choice. I don't know. I think the way they released all the last parts of Attack on Titan, it kind of fucked with the way his character development went in my head. So I'm not super sold on it, but I don't know. He deserves an honorable mention at the very least. And the last honorable mention, obviously, I gotta say Saul from Better Call Saul. I don't think he's as evil as Walter, but he definitely does some terrible things throughout the series. And that season finale is just so good and wraps up his character arc amazingly. I don't even want to talk about it because you just need to go watch it for yourself. Seriously. But before that, let's talk about my favorite evil protagonist of all time, Thorfinn. Thorfinn is really different from all the other characters on this list because, you know, he just starts off as a normal kid. And like Guts, he has a terrible backstory, but he's kind of also like Walter in that he has a goal that's fueling his evil actions, specifically killing Askeladd. We can easily sympathize with that feeling. You know, we're put in his shoes when we watch the absolute Giga Chat Thors die in the first few episodes. Even though you hear Thors tell Thorfinn not to carry a sword and not to be violent if unnecessary, I'm still pissed off when he dies like Thorfinn. You know, I understand why he wants the revenge. And it's sold so well with the animation and especially the voice acting. Dude, this moment with Thorfinn is just like, you can feel that rage. But still, that doesn't excuse Thorfinn's actions, and if you don't think he's at least a little evil in the first season, let me break down every way that this man is an absolute menace. Not to mention the fact that he just literally kills randoms with zero hesitation almost every episode, but there is a specific moment where a mom and daughter find him all dirty and unconscious with no food, and they just like feed him and give him shelter, but a soldier comes by looking for him, and the mom is such a nice person that she covers for him and protects him. But no, Thorfinn still betrays them. Thorfinn gives the signal to Askeladd to murder and pillage everyone in the village. Yeah, he technically told the mom and daughter to run away, but like that doesn't change the fact that he still gave them the signal. They still died, and so did probably everyone in that village. And the expression that we see on Thorfinn after the raid happens tells us so much. Like, you can see the regret that he has for a second until he buries it deeper inside himself. But there's a reason that Thorfinn is the absolute GOAT when it comes to evil protagonists. And again, I'm using evil in like quotations because he's not 100% evil. But what makes him so good is the fact that he actually faces his internal demons head on and changes for the better. Main characters like Walter and Light also change, but they only become more egotistical and more apathetic in their actions. After losing his entire reason for living since Askeladd dies, Thorfinn takes an entire season to heal and reflect on the evil things that he's done in the past, trying to atone for his sins. Mappa really went crazy animating the PTSD and trauma. Like, I remember I was on my real life Thorfinn arc, you know, confronting my demons in the gym at 2 a.m. when this season dropped. I had Paradox on a repeat anytime I was deadlifting. But the only reason that season 2 is so good and that change feels so believable is because Thorfinn had an evil beginning. It's because he had that evil start that his good-natured willpower and change actually makes sense. It wouldn't be satisfying if Thorfinn just came out a perfect, beautiful, muscular man. And that's what makes Vinland Saga just so damn amazing, is that it all wraps up full circle. Thorfinn's journey originally started to get revenge for his father, to kill Askeladd and keep the cycle of violence going. But no, Thorfinn is a better man, and after season 2, he realizes that that's not what his father would have wanted for him. Just like his father, he becomes enlightened. You know, he realizes that the villain arc just isn't cool. You know, being an asshole like Gary Oak, maybe that's not what's best for you. Evil protagonists like Light and Walter are the best ones to watch on screen, but the best ones to relate to are Thorfinn and Guts. Anyway, that's the whole video. I'm kind of trying this new type of content, so if you like it, like the video and subscribe and shit. Okay, bye.